Hi everyone, I am Arty Starr. If you made a Venn diagram of me, I am a software engineer, artist, animator, writer, speaker, entrepreneur. Today I'd like to share with you some of the things I've learned about flow. We talk about this concept in the software world of this flow state where we're so fully focused and in the zone, so completely absorbed in our craft that time seems to zoom by. Have you ever been like, whoa, it's 6 p.m. How did that happen? This is what it feels like. Since software development requires this sustained focus and thinking to solve these abstract puzzles in our head, our ability to get into flow state is a huge boon to our productivity. Mihai Csikszentmihalyi researched this topic extensively in his book, Flow, The Psychology of Optimal Experience. This book was written in 1990, but I would argue is one of the most important books to read in 2021. So one important thing I hope you take away from this talk is that you should add this book to your reading list. This is a seed of wisdom. One of the things you learn in the book is not only is this flow experience our most productive and our most creative time, it also corresponds to the times we experience our greatest joy. As opposed to joy being something that happens when we're in a passive, restful state, it's actually the opposite. Our peak experiences actually come, as Csikszentmihalyi would say, when our body or mind is stretched to its limits as we voluntarily try to accomplish something difficult and worthwhile. So when have you experienced joy in software development? Like real, authentic, soul-felt joy. The experience that comes to mind for me is my first experience with programming. So when I first went to college, I wanted to be a singer-songwriter and major in music. Music was my entire life. But then when I got in school and started to realize what a career in music would actually be like, I realized I don't think I really want to do this. And I was all distraught, so my boyfriend at the time, trying to cheer me up, thought, hey, let's take a class together, that'll be fun. And he's flipping through the class catalog. Then he finds, ooh, x86 assembly, that sounds fun. And you got to realize my only experience with computers at this point is playing King's Quest with my family. And here I am about to learn how to write code, basically starting with zeros and ones. But once I got in class, it kind of reminded me of programming my TI-85 calculator in math class. You know, I've got some basic instructions, I can do this. And so I started reading through the textbook that night, and then I found interrupts. And I realized I can switch to graphics mode. I can make the PC speaker beep. And I started writing the game Breakout, completely in assembly, not knowing any other programming languages even existed. I had a little paddle that moved around with a mouse, and little rainbow-colored blocks, and a little ball that bounced around the screen and beeped at different frequencies as it hit the walls. It was awesome. And then I showed my teacher what I was working on. He's like, why don't you just keep going with that? Show me what you're working on, take the final, and you get an A. I'm thinking, all right, I like this class. But that's when it hit me. I can create anything. I can dream. If we can dream it up, if we can figure out a way to build it with software, and like we've got all the coolest toys in the world right now, truly, we have the power to bring our dreams to life. How amazing is software really? Like, let that sink in. We are like the magicians of this world. As a fellow software engineer, I hope you build software first and foremost because you love it, because it's fun, and it's awesome that we actually get paid to do something we love. I don't think jobs really get much better than that. I bring up this joy thing because, as Csikszentmihalyi said, symbols can be deceptive. They have a tendency to distract us from the reality they're supposed to represent. What are we optimizing for? What's our North Star? Our society codes us to desire certain sorts of things. More money, a better job, a bigger house. These sorts of things become a definition of life success. These symbols are things that are supposed to make us happy. But if we take a step back from it all, what matters? What really matters? Joy matters. That was the conclusion I eventually came to. Our own joy matters. The joy of our teammates matter. The joy of our families, our kids, our friends, our community matters. Joy is generative, contagious, and healing when it's real. And you can't really fake it either. Fake happiness isn't the same thing as genuine, heartfelt joy. Optimize for joy is a compass, a North Star we can strive for. So if we put our engineering caps on, figure out how to engineer these flow experiences and design them into the system, maybe we can engineer a fountain spring of joy. So how do we do it? How do we engineer flow experiences? How do we engineer a joyful developer experience? It's a good North Star question. One of the keys to this puzzle is that joy only happens in the case of intrinsic motivation, when our heart is genuinely in alignment with what we're doing. It's not something that can be forced from the outside. It doesn't work. But when we accomplish something difficult and worthwhile because we care about what we're doing and work really hard with a cool group of people to make it happen, it feels really good. The greatest experiences of my life were building something really cool with an amazing team. Being difficult, being worthwhile, these are the things that make the journey more fun. This journey we go on together, of climbing a mountain together, it becomes our story. In the moment, when we're there on that climb, all of our energy is being focused and pulled to the challenge of the mountain. This is where this flow state energy comes from. It's this kind of hyper-powered focusing energy that we use to get stuff done. The challenge level is also really important. If the challenge is too easy for our skill level, we get bored. If the challenge is too hard, we get anxious and feel overwhelmed and shut down. So the key is to be right in this Goldilocks zone where the challenge is just right for our skill level. Though not everyone is at the same skill level. Over the last decade, there's been a ridiculous amount of complexity that we've added to our software infrastructure. As a baseline of things you gotta know to be even basically proficient, we've made things insanely hard for newcomers. All this complexity we take on, it certainly keeps things from being boring. But at what point are we creating challenge for the sake of challenge? Are the problems we're solving really the right problems? If we take a step back and look at the big picture, the really big challenges we face as a world right now, are we really focused on the most important, worthwhile things? As engineers, we have the capability to build many things. If we can dream it up, if we can translate it to code, we can build anything we can dream. And joy matters. As a first principle, let's remember that. Okay, I've got a challenge for you. I want you to imagine yourself standing in front of a whiteboard, big picture. We've got the education system, the industry system, and the hiring and recruiting system as some big boxes. Then put this aside and think about this difficulty curve, from beginner all the way up to top contributor, and imagine all these experiences along the way. As we grow up, our first 20 years experience, then ask yourself, how could we design the system to optimize for joy? Let yourself dream. If we can see these human systems challenges as engineering design challenges, then we've got a whole toolbox full of existing skills we can use to help us think about ways to make things better. So in closing, I wanted to say, I realize that Optimize for Joy runs a bit counter to our age-old system of Optimize for Money. But since this flow experience also corresponds to our most productive and creative time, there's no fundamental reason why these two things can't be in alignment with one another so we arrive at a win-win, even if it means we have to do some rethinking about how things might work. In this changing world, in the wake of all this disruption, innovation is key. And maybe this gives us a starting place for thinking about what those innovations might be. So, read the book, put your engineering cap on, and really think about how we can engineer for joy. Thank you.